So it is Tuesday night, a little bit before 11 o'clock here on the West Coast, Seattle area, to be a little more specific. And Bernie Sanders has been declared the victor in New Hampshire. Yay! Um, he's two and zero. He won Iowa. He won it by 6,000. Sorry, my cat just tried to jump up on the bed. Which is fine, but sometimes he kind of can't, and then he grabs onto my leg with his claws, and it does not feel good. I need to get him a ladder or something, but that's a different discussion. But Bernie won New Hampshire. It wasn't rigged this time like Iowa, how they tried to steal that from him, but he did win Iowa. He's 2-0. He got 6,000 more votes. If the delegate count, the equivalent, if all that shit was actually corrected how it should be, he would win and that as well, but let's see what Bernie has to say after being declared victorious in New Hampshire. And I also saw a tweet from Crystal Ball on Twitter saying that the candidates who have went on to win both Iowa and New Hampshire, the Iowa caucus and now the New Hampshire primary, none of them have not gone on to win the primary. So basically, unless the DNC totally just screws Bernie out of it, which is a possibility if he doesn't win by big enough, then there could be, I think, some more shady shit going on potentially at the convention or other contests. Like, we got to keep our eye on Nevada. They're going to try some shady shit there. They're bringing out this app that's never been tested, and they appointed a paid booty judge staffer to be part of their election kind of monitoring or, you know, team. It's nuts. Senator Bernie Sanders was declared the winner of the presidential Democratic primary in New Hampshire on Tuesday night, less than 3 hours after polls closed in the Granite State. Victory seen as a massive boost for the campaign of the U.S. Senator from Vermont, and one which comes on the heels of winning the popular vote in the Iowa caucus last week. Well, Common Dreams is good, but they should also point out, just for posterity, that if there wouldn't have been that shady crap going on, that he would have won, or at least tied in the delegates there as well. I've heard people say that he would have won, and I tend to believe them. People like, Kyle Kalinske. At his victory rally in Manchester, Sanders said, "Our victory tonight is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump." He added that his campaign is, quote, "not just about defeating Trump, but transforming this country by building a mass, multiracial, and multi-generational working class movement to overthrow the status quo." How perfect is that? Like, the multiracial part's very good, the mass movement, and the multi-generational, that's, an area that Bernie needs to step it up a little bit and really go out there and advocate to the older folks why he is the candidate who has their best interest in mind, and he does. So it's an easy case to make. He just needs to, do it more. Maybe change it up the messaging a little bit, but obviously keep all the substance the same for sure. Tonight, Bernie Sanders sent a message that working people are ready for a political revolution in this country. This is what it will take to defeat Donald Trump. Sanders declared, "This victory isn't about me, it's about us. Tonight is about what our supporters, volunteers, and grassroots donors built in New Hampshire." And I mean, Bernie is so awesome. He always brings it back to the people, to the movement. His campaign slogan is "not me, us." All the other candidates aren't really in it for the people. They're in it for themselves to a certain extent. And if you want to have a debate about that, I'd be willing to do that, and I would prove you wrong. Even, let's say, Elizabeth Warren right now, there's no pathway for her to get the nomination. I mean, there's no pathway for her to get the nomination if she was truly concerned with getting a progressive elected and beating Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders does the best on both of those accounts. He's the only progressive in the race. And Elizabeth Warren had another horrible showing. It's either fourth or fifth, and she wasn't even viable, so she got no delegates out of it, because I believe in New Hampshire too, you have to get at least 15% to get any delegates, the same as in Iowa. And again, he's just so awesome, bringing it back to the people, the movement, to making the country better, to, bucking the status quo. Let's see. It's about us. That's awesome. We just won the New Hampshire primary. He says on Twitter, what we have done together here is nothing short of the beginning of a political revolution. Join us live at our primary night rally in Manchester. Bernie just gets it. I mean, obviously, I critique him when there's merit, when he tries to, I don't know, criticize, Venezuela, or say Maduro's a dictator and stuff like that. I push back, or if he's, but he's the best chance that we got. Nobody's perfect, but he is a once in a lifetime candidate. He's the best chance that we have of radically transforming this country for the better, and it's so very much needed right now. And he's the front runner. He is the front runner. He won the first two contests. He's leading nationally. Biden is nosediving. Biden got 8 or 9% here in New Hampshire. He's tanking. And so it's basically, going to come down to probably Bernie and Bloomberg, honestly, because he has so much money. He's up national polls up to sometimes 15% by dumping $350+ million on ad buys. That's what being a billionaire oligarch can get you. Can get you 15% nationally. You just got to spend $350 million. That's why we need public financing of elections. None of this people being able to buy their way into it, and that's what's so awesome about Bernie. He's not bought and paid for. He's not a billionaire oligarch who would do obviously the bidding of the billionaire oligarch class. He's bought and paid for by the people. What is it? 7 million contributions to his campaign. Sanders had polled well going into the state's primary, a contest he also won in 2016, but after the fiasco in Iowa last week, when inconsistencies and errors in reporting denied Sanders the ability to claim victory on the night of the election, even though Buttigieg did that without any evidence, even though he lost, he got 6,000 less votes. There was pressure on the senator to perform well in New Hampshire. Update. We won an incredible against the odds victory despite all the elites, this is true, trying to stop us, despite all the corporate power trying to destroy us, and despite all the naysayers on this website trying as hard as they can to demoralize us. Onward. David Sirota, one of his speechwriters, a good follow on Twitter, knows how to troll Joe Biden, but with facts, like on Joe Biden wanting to cut Social Security repeatedly. And again, it needs to be pointed out, if this fiasco in Iowa hadn't happened, where Pete Buttigieg was able to go around and claim victory, and the media followed him in that narrative, even though there was no evidence of that at all, that gave him a huge bump in the polls in New Hampshire. And that's one of the reasons it was so close, because there had been polls maybe 2 or 3 weeks before that, something like that showed Bernie up 10, 15 points in New Hampshire. That played a huge part, but Bernie still won there. So I think it's honestly just as impressive. James Zogby, founder of the Arab American Institute and prominent Sanders supporter, expressed elation. I can feel the momentum heading west to Nevada, South Carolina, and then on to Super Tuesday. Zogby tweeted, "We're going to win this thing." I agree. Hey, Carl Beiser. I think you're for the Jacobin. Hey everyone, Bernie is 2.0. It's true. He's got, I think, around 10 or 11,000 more votes than Buttigieg in the first two contests. So here's the numbers. Let's see. So Buttigieg at second. Where didn't it show? Bernie's percentage. It was like 26 something, because basically he won by like 1.5 or 2. It's probably going to be about 2 points, I think. And which again, oh my God, it's so ridiculous. If you look or listen to mainstream media, they're saying how the best performance was by fucking Amy Klobuchar because she got third. Like, why are we celebrating somebody that got, like 7 percentage points less than Bernie Sanders? And not to mention all of the, like Sirota points out, all of the just massive media attacks just constantly against Bernie Sanders on MSNBC, on CNN, um, on these supposed Democratic liberal outlets, just totally unfounded. Chris Matthews the other day saying Bernie Sanders would be supporting people being executed in Central Park, and was it Chuck Todd comparing Bernie Sanders supporters to Nazis, and all this just fucking nonsense. It's Jason Johnson on MSNBC saying that Bernie Sanders is an oligarch because he earned $2 million writing a best-selling book that people wanted to read and buy. That's on the same level as Michael Bloomberg being able to drop $350 million into this election to buy his way to 15% in the national polls. And you have that super, super racist audio of him being leaked about stop and frisk, and he's horrible. He's horrible. He supported fucking George Bush in 2004 and gave him just this freaking ravingly positive endorsement speech at the Republican National Convention, I believe it was. Yeah. So Buttigieg 24.4, Klobuchar 19, but I mean that is a big jump for her, and I think maybe post debate she got some of the Buttigieg centrist support because she went after him pretty hard in the debate, and it landed. Actually, it was a decent attack on. She called him out for not being consistent on Medicare for All because he used to support it and now he doesn't. At least she's been consistent that she wants people to still die because they don't have health care and to go bankrupt. He used to be in support of that, of Medicare for All, people not dying and going bankrupt. Tanya. Warren and Biden will be under 15% statewide, and in both congressional districts, that means zero goose egg national delegate pledges for them. Sanders, Buttigieg, Klobuchar would split the 24 available delegates. And again, Bernie Sanders, the Super Tuesday states, the projection I saw, after the Iowa caucus, basically had Bernie Sanders, I think, winning all but 2 or 3 of them. And Biden's tanking. Buttigieg has basically no support outside of these 2 states, as well as basically zero support with the black community and just people of color in general. And just look at his horrible record as a mayor in South Bend, and you wonder why. And not to mention all of the other horrible things like that, where they basically were just putting just prominent black people's names in South Carolina on this list, saying that they endorse Pete Buttigieg when they didn't. Oh, it was if they didn't respond back to the email, then within a certain amount of time, then the Buttigieg campaign would take that as them giving consent. That's the kind of shit tokenization, and just they're fucked. They're fucked. You would never see Bernie Sanders doing, because he actually supports the working people and has a racial justice lens. It could be better sometimes, but it's night and day better than fucking racist ass Pete Buttigieg. Thank you, Andrew Yang. Oh yeah, and then Yang dropped out. I really hope Yang endorses Bernie Sanders. I think he will, if he kind of stays true to his message and values. I think he would endorse Bernie Sanders, and I think a lot of Yang supporters, probably would fall most in line with Bernie Sanders too, because of what he supports and advocates. And then Pierce Sanders was propelled to victory with the help of first-time voters and younger voters, as well as I saw that he was just killing it with communities of color as well. Which is awesome. And basically he needs to try to get every vote he can get and keep moving on to Nevada, keep donating if you're able to, canvas, knock on doors. I'm going to sign up to canvass soon in the Seattle area or in Washington, or at least in Washington, somewhere close to where I live. Call, text, talk to friends and family members, post on social media, do whatever you can, because again, the whole establishment's going to line up against Bernie once he's the nominee, because honestly, again, they would rather have a second term of Trump than Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders overturns the apple cart. Trump has been a great boon to their profits. Those are my thoughts, but awesome night. Bernie won. To keep up the momentum. Leave your comments in the comment sections down below. Peace. Much love.